Staff Sergeant David Mitchell had worked state dinners before, dozens of them. He knew the rhythm, the careful choreography of royals and dignitaries moving through the state dining room, the soft classical music, the controlled conversations, the perfect smiles. Tonight felt different. He noticed it first in the way Princess Charlotte held her water glass. Her hand trembled, just slightly. Most people wouldn't see it. But Mitchell had spent years of military service learning to read body language, to spot the things that didn't fit. The young princess sat 3 seats down from King Charles, wearing a navy dress that matched the formal occasion. Her posture was perfect, too perfect. The kind of rigid stillness that comes from someone working very hard to appear calm. Before we continue, make sure you hit subscribe on Crown Watch. Drop a comment below where you're watching from. Now, back to what happened next. Mitchell stood at his assigned post near the eastern wall, close enough to respond, far enough to be invisible. He'd been doing this job for nearly a decade. He understood the unspoken rules. Observe everything, react to nothing, remain a silent presence unless needed. But something about Charlotte's expression kept pulling his attention back. She smiled when spoken to, nodded at the right moments, answered questions from the Austrian ambassador seated beside her. From the outside, she looked like any young royal fulfilling her duties with grace. Mitchell saw what others missed, the way her shoulders tensed when anyone approached from behind, how her eyes darted toward the doorway every few minutes, the forced quality of her smile that never quite reached her eyes. "Everything all right over there?" The voice in his earpiece belonged to Captain Wells, the evening's security coordinator. Mitchell pressed his radio. "All clear, sir." "Good. Remember, we're light on coverage tonight. Half the detail is with William at the hospital opening. Stay sharp." "Understood." The dinner continued. Servers moved efficiently between tables. Conversations flowed in multiple languages. Outside, autumn rain tapped against the tall windows overlooking the palace gardens. Charlotte reached for her water glass again. Her hand shook harder this time, hard enough that water sloshed against the rim. She set it down quickly, too quickly, then folded her hands in her lap, fingers interlaced tightly. Mitchell's training told him to maintain his position. His instinct told him something was wrong. He'd seen this pattern before during active duty. People under stress showed it in small ways first. The trembling hands, the rigid posture, the hypervigilance. Charlotte wasn't just nervous about the formal occasion. She was frightened. Of what? A woman in a black evening gown approached Charlotte from behind. Queen Camilla. She leaned down, placing one hand on Charlotte's shoulder. From across the room, it looked like a grandmother offering comfort to a nervous child. Charlotte flinched. A tiny movement. Most people would miss it. But Mitchell saw the way her body tensed under that hand, saw how she stopped breathing for just a moment. Camilla leaned closer, whispering something near Charlotte's ear. Charlotte nodded. Once, twice. Her face remained expressionless. When Camilla straightened and moved away, Charlotte's trembling increased. Her jaw clenched. She stared at her plate without seeing it. Mitchell shifted his weight. His hand moved closer to his radio. Not obvious, just ready. 20 seconds later, Charlotte pushed back from the table. She stood carefully, too carefully, like someone testing whether their legs would hold them. "Excuse me," she said, quietly to those nearby. "I need to use the powder room." Perfect manners, calm voice. But Mitchell saw her hands shaking at her sides. Protocol dictated he stay at his post. State dinners required guards to remain in assigned positions unless specifically called. Moving without authorization could draw attention. Create a scene. Charlotte walked toward the corridor that led to the private facilities. Her steps were measured, controlled. She kept her head up, but her hands never stopped shaking. Mitchell made a decision. He touched his earpiece. Captain Wells, requesting permission to follow up on a potential situation. Static crackled. Then Wells's voice. What situation? Princess Charlotte just left the dining room. She appears unwell. Is anyone else with her? Negative. A pause. Mitchell could hear Wells considering. Royal children didn't travel alone at formal events. Someone should have accompanied her. A lady in waiting, a protection officer, assigned specifically to her. Granted, Wells said finally, but be discreet. Last thing we need is headlines about collapsed security protocols. Understood. Mitchell moved along the wall, staying in the shadows. He'd perfected the art of being present without being noticed. Years of protecting. High-value targets had taught him how to blend. The corridor beyond the dining room was quiet. Too quiet. The sounds of the dinner faded behind him. Classical music replaced by the soft echo of his footsteps on marble floors. He found Charlotte standing near the window at the far end. Not in the powder room, just standing, staring out at the rain-soaked gardens. Her reflection showed in the dark glass. She was crying, silent tears running down her face. Mitchell stopped. He wasn't sure what protocol said about a royal guard comforting a distressed princess. Nothing in his training manual covered this exact scenario. Your Royal Highness, he kept his voice gentle, non-threatening. Are you all right? Charlotte wiped her face quickly. She turned, trying to compose herself. I'm fine. Just needed some air. Of course. Mitchell maintained his distance. Would you like me to find someone? Your mother, perhaps? No. The word came too fast, too sharp. Charlotte caught herself. I mean, no, thank you. She's still at the hospital event with my father. I don't want to bother her. Mitchell nodded slowly. That explained why Kate wasn't here. But it didn't explain the fear in Charlotte's eyes. If you're certain, I need to go back. Charlotte straightened her dress, wiped her face again. They'll notice I've been gone too long. They, not people, not the guests. They. Your Highness, if something is wrong, I need you to tell me. It's my job to keep you safe. Charlotte looked at him then. Really looked at him. For a moment, he thought she might speak, might tell him whatever was causing this fear. Her mouth opened slightly. Then footsteps echoed down the corridor. Quick, purposeful. Charlotte's expression changed instantly. The fear became something else, something worse. Resignation. Queen Camilla appeared around the corner. She smiled when she saw them. A warm, concerned grandmother. Smile that didn't match the coldness in her eyes. There you are, darling, Camilla walked toward them. We were worried. Are you feeling unwell? I'm fine, grandmother. Charlotte's voice had gone flat, emotionless. Just needed a moment. Of course. Camilla's hand settled on Charlotte's shoulder again. Charlotte went rigid. These formal dinners can be overwhelming. Why don't we get you back to your seat? Mitchell watched the interaction carefully. Camilla's grip on Charlotte's shoulder looked gentle, but he saw Charlotte's wince, saw the way the young princess leaned slightly away. Your Majesty, Mitchell said carefully, perhaps Princess Charlotte should rest. She appears perfectly fine, Sergeant. Camilla's smile never wavered, but her tone had changed, harder. These events are part of her training. She'll need to manage much longer functions in the future. Of course, I only thought, I appreciate your concern, but I'll take it from here. Camilla began guiding Charlotte back toward the dining room. Come along, Charlotte. The Austrian ambassador was just asking about your piano lessons. Charlotte walked with her, but she looked back once, met Mitchell's eyes, and in that brief glance, he saw it. A silent plea. Help me. Then they turned the corner and were gone. Mitchell stood alone in the corridor. Every instinct screamed that something was wrong. But what could he do? He'd just been dismissed by the Queen. Going after them would be insubordination. Creating a scene at a state dinner could end his career. He pressed his earpiece. Captain Wells. Go ahead. Situation resolved. Princess Charlotte is returning to the dinner with Queen Camilla. Good. Return to your post. Mitchell walked back slowly. His mind turned over what he'd witnessed. Charlotte's fear, her trembling, the tears, the way she reacted to Camilla's touch, the silent plea in her eyes. 20 years of service had taught him one thing. When something felt wrong, it usually was. He returned to his position along the eastern wall. The dinner continued. Charlotte sat at her seat again. From across the room, she looked fine, composed, perfect royal bearing. But Mitchell saw her hands under the table, still shaking, still clasped tightly together. He saw how she stiffened every time Camilla glanced her direction. The dinner lasted another hour. Speeches were made, toasts offered. The Austrian delegation praised the hospitality. Photos were taken. Through it all, Charlotte smiled, nodded, played her role flawlessly. And through it all, Mitchell watched. He catalogued every detail, every moment of fear quickly hidden, every forced smile, every tremor she tried to control. When the dinner finally ended, guests moved to the blue drawing room for coffee and continued conversations. Charlotte stood with the group, still playing her part, but Mitchell noticed she stayed close to the edge of the room, near the exits. She was planning to leave, first chance she got. Mitchell couldn't follow her there. His assignment was the dining room and immediate corridors. The drawing room had its own security detail, but he found himself reluctant to end his shift. Something about leaving Charlotte felt wrong. Captain Wells appeared beside him. Long night? Yes, sir. You're off duty in 10 minutes. Thompson will relieve you. Wells studied Mitchell's face. Something on your mind, Sergeant? Mitchell chose his words carefully. Princess Charlotte seemed distressed earlier, when I found her in the corridor. Distressed how? Crying? Shaking? She said she was fine, but... Mitchell paused. How did he explain an instinct? A feeling? Something felt off. Wells nodded slowly. Queen Camilla mentioned you approached them. Said you were concerned about Charlotte's well-being. Yes, sir. That's good work. Shows attention to detail. Wells clapped Mitchell's shoulder. But the Queen also mentioned Charlotte gets nervous at these formal events. It's normal for her age. Nothing to worry about. Mitchell wanted to argue, to explain what he'd seen in Charlotte's eyes. But Wells was already moving away, radio in hand, managing the post-event security protocols. Thompson arrived for the shift change. Mitchell briefed him on the evening, standard procedures. Nothing unusual to report, except there was something unusual. He just couldn't prove it. Mitchell left through the staff corridors. He changed in the guard quarters. Civilian clothes, his shift was over. He should go home, get sleep. Return tomorrow for another day of standing silently while important people did important things. He didn't go home. Instead, he walked to the guard command center, a small office in the palace's east wing, where duty rosters and security logs were maintained. Sergeant William Barrett sat at the desk, reviewing camera feeds. Mitchell, you're off duty. I know. Can I ask you something? Barrett gestured to the chair across from him. Make it quick. I've got 2 hours of footage to review before morning. How long have you been working Charlotte's protection detail? Barrett's expression shifted, became guarded. About 6 months. Why? Have you noticed anything unusual with her behavior, her interactions with certain people? That's a strange question, Mitchell. I know it is, but I saw something tonight that didn't sit right. Barrett studied him for a long moment. Then he glanced at the door, making sure they were alone. When he spoke, his voice was quieter. Charlotte's been different the last few weeks. Quieter, more withdrawn. Her teachers mentioned it to her protection staff, said she seems distracted in lessons. Different how? Hard to explain. She's always been confident, outgoing, but lately she seems— Barrett searched for the word. Careful, like she's watching what she says and does more than usual. Around everyone or specific people? Barrett hesitated. I shouldn't be having this conversation. But you are, because you've noticed something too. Another pause. Then Barrett sighed. She's different around Queen Camilla. More reserved, almost formal. It's probably nothing. Adjusting to new family dynamics. But it's noticeable. Mitchell leaned forward. Tonight at the dinner, I found Charlotte crying in the corridor, hands shaking, scared. When I asked if she was all right, she tried to tell me something. Then Camilla showed up and Charlotte just shut down. Shut down how? Like a switch, all emotion gone. And the way Camilla put her hand on Charlotte's shoulder, Mitchell shook his head. Charlotte flinched. Actually flinched. Barrett's jaw tightened. You're saying you think something's happening? Something we should be concerned about? I'm saying I saw a frightened child, and my instincts are telling me to pay attention. Instincts aren't evidence, Mitchell. We need facts, proof, something concrete before we can act. I know. Mitchell stood. But if I'm right, and we do nothing— He left the sentence unfinished. Both men understood. The implication. Barrett turned back to his monitors. But before Mitchell reached the door, Barrett spoke again. Tomorrow night, there's a private family dinner. Just Charles, Camilla, and the children. Charlotte will be there. I'm on duty. And I'll be paying closer attention. Barrett met Mitchell's eyes. If something's wrong, we'll figure it out. But carefully, by the book. Understood? Understood. Mitchell left the command center. He walked through the quiet palace corridors. Most staff had gone home. The state dinner guests had departed. Only essential security remained. He thought about Charlotte's face in the corridor. The tears, the trembling, the silent plea in her eyes when Camilla led her away. Mitchell didn't know what was happening, but he knew one thing, with certainty. He wasn't going to ignore it. Whatever came next, he'd be ready. The next morning, Mitchell reported for his regular shift at 6. The palace was quiet, most royals still sleeping, staff preparing for the day ahead. He walked his assigned route through the north wing, checking doors and windows out of habit. His phone buzzed, a text from Barrett. Need to talk. Break room. 7:30. Mitchell glanced at his watch. 1 hour. He continued his rounds, but his mind was elsewhere. On Charlotte. On what Barrett might have observed during last night's family dinner. The time crawled. Mitchell checked the same corridors twice. Verified locks that hadn't been touched. Anything to keep moving until 7:30 arrived. When he finally pushed open the break room door, Barrett was already there, sitting alone with a cup of coffee that had gone cold. He looked like he hadn't slept. What happened? Mitchell asked. Barrett gestured for him to close the door. Last night's dinner. You were right to be concerned. Mitchell sat down, waited. Charlotte barely ate, pushed food around her plate, answered when spoken to but volunteered nothing. Barrett ran a hand through his hair. Charles asked if she was feeling well. She said she was fine, but her voice was flat. Empty. And Camilla? Attentive, very attentive. Kept asking Charlotte questions, touching her shoulder, her arm. Small gestures that looked caring. Barrett's expression darkened. But every time Camilla touched her, Charlotte went rigid, like she was bracing herself. Did Charles notice? He was distracted, taking calls about the hospital opening. He ate quickly and excused himself. Left Camilla alone with Charlotte and the younger children. Mitchell leaned forward. What happened then? That's when it got strange. The moment Charles left, Camilla's entire demeanor changed. Less warm, more controlled. She dismissed the younger children, sent them to their rooms, but she kept Charlotte at the table. For how long? 20 minutes. I couldn't hear what was being said. But I could see Charlotte's face. She looked terrified. Mitchell felt his chest tighten. Did you intervene? On what grounds? A grandmother having a private conversation with her step-granddaughter? Barrett shook his head. I had no reason to interrupt. No policy violation. Nothing actionable. But you wanted to? I wanted to walk in there and remove Charlotte from that room. Every instinct I have said something was wrong. Barrett met Mitchell's eyes. When Charlotte finally left, she was shaking. Same as you described. Hands trembling, eyes red like she'd been crying or trying not to. Mitchell sat back. 2 separate observations. 2 different nights. Same pattern of behavior. We need to document this, Mitchell said. Start an official log. Every interaction between Camilla and Charlotte. Every instance where Charlotte shows distress. And then what? We take it to Captain Wells? Barrett's voice held frustration. He'll tell us it's normal adjustment issues. Family dynamics. Growing pains. Maybe, but at least we'll have a record. If something happens, we'll wish we'd acted sooner. Barrett stood, pacing. I've been doing this job for 15 years. I've protected diplomats, politicians, royals. I know the difference between normal stress and real fear. Charlotte is afraid. Mitchell understood the dilemma. They had suspicions, observations, instincts, nothing concrete, nothing that would justify formal action against the Queen. We watch, Mitchell said finally. We pay attention, we document everything, and we look for something solid, something we can actually report. Barrett nodded slowly. And if we find it? Then we act. Consequences be damned. They separated. Mitchell returned to his rounds, but now he moved with purpose. He wasn't just checking locks and windows. He was gathering information. He spoke quietly with other guards, asked casual questions about Charlotte's recent behavior. Most noticed nothing unusual. A few mentioned she seemed quieter lately, less playful with her siblings. One guard, Thompson, mentioned something interesting. Last week, I was stationed near the family quarters. Charlotte came down the hallway. She didn't know I was there. She stopped outside Camilla's private sitting room. Just stood there for maybe 30 seconds. Then she turned around and went back the way she came. Did she seem upset? Hard to say, but she was moving fast, like she was running from something. Mitchell filed the information away. Another small piece. Another observation that meant nothing on its own but fit the pattern. That afternoon, Charlotte had piano lessons in the music room. Mitchell wasn't assigned to that area, but he made a point of walking past during his break. The door was partially open. He could hear the piano, scales being practiced, then a simple melody. The music stopped abruptly. A woman's voice spoke. Not the piano teacher, Camilla. You'll need to do better than that if you're performing at the charity concert next month. Yes, grandmother. Charlotte's voice was small, careful. Your mother makes it look effortless. The piano, the public appearances, the perfect smile. A pause. You'll need to learn. There are expectations for young ladies in this family. I understand. Do you? Because your behavior at the state dinner was concerning. Leaving the table, crying in corridors. What would people think? Silence. I'm trying to help you, Charlotte. Prepare you for what's ahead. But you make it difficult when you act like a child. I'm sorry. Sorry isn't good enough. You need to be stronger, more controlled, like your mother. More silence. Then the piano resumed. But the melody was hesitant, uncertain. Notes stumbling over each other. Mitchell continued walking, his hands clenched into fists. He'd heard enough. The words themselves weren't abusive. No threats, no violence. But the tone underneath was cold, controlling, the kind of psychological pressure that left marks invisible to everyone else. He thought about intervening, finding an excuse to enter the music room. But what would he say? He had no reason to be there. no authority to interrupt a private lesson. What he discovered in the next 48 hours would make that conversation seem trivial by comparison. Mitchell pulled double shifts. He volunteered for extra duty. Anything that kept him in the palace, watching. Barrett did the same. They coordinated coverage, ensuring one of them was always nearby when Charlotte was present. They saw patterns emerge. Charlotte was fine around Charles, relaxed around her siblings, normal with staff and teachers, but around Camilla, she changed, became smaller, quieter, overly polite. 3 days after the state dinner, Mitchell was stationed near the library. Late afternoon. Charlotte was supposed to be studying there with her tutor. He heard voices through the partially open door. "I don't understand this equation." Charlotte sounded frustrated. "Let's work through it together." The tutor's voice was patient, kind. They worked in silence for several minutes. Then Mitchell heard heels clicking on marble. Quick, purposeful. He recognized that cadence. Camilla. She entered the library without knocking. "Charlotte, we need to talk." "I'm in the middle of lessons, grandmother." "This is more important." Camilla's tone allowed no argument. "Thank you, Miss Reynolds. You're dismissed for today." "But we're not finished with—" "I said you're dismissed." The tutor left quickly, gave Mitchell a brief glance as she passed. Her expression said she didn't like this any more than he did. The library door closed. Not quite all the way. A gap of perhaps 2 inches remained. Mitchell stood at his post. He could hear voices. Muffled, indistinct. He strained to listen without appearing to. Camilla's voice rose slightly. "Do you think I don't notice? The way you avoid me? The looks you give?" "I'm not—" "Don't lie to me. I know exactly what you're doing. Trying to make me look bad. Whispering to the guards. Making them suspicious. I haven't said anything to anyone." "Then why was that sergeant watching us at the state dinner? Why did he follow you?" "I don't know. I was upset. Maybe he was concerned." "Concerned?" Camilla's voice dripped with contempt. "You're telling me nothing, and yet they're concerned. Someone is putting ideas in their heads. Someone is making me look like the villain." "No one thinks that." "Don't they? Your mother barely speaks to me. Your father is always busy. And you—" A pause. "You look at me like I'm some kind of monster." "I don't mean to—" "What did I do, Charlotte? Tell me. What terrible crime have I committed that makes you so afraid of me?" The question hung in the air. Mitchell held his breath, waiting for Charlotte's answer. "Nothing," Charlotte whispered. "You haven't done anything." "Then why won't you look at me? Why do you flinch when I touch you?" "I don't mean to. I'm sorry." "Sorry again. Always sorry. Never an explanation. Just this constant fear radiating from— You like I'm going to hurt you." Camilla's voice changed, became softer, almost hurt. "I'm trying to be a grandmother to you, to help you, but you make it impossible." "I know. I'll try harder." "Will you? Because right now it looks like you're trying to turn people against me, making the staff suspicious, creating problems where none exist." "I'm not. I promise." Mitchell's jaw clenched. He recognized this tactic. Gaslighting. Making Charlotte doubt her own feelings. Turning her fear into guilt. Making her apologize for being afraid. The conversation continued for another 10 minutes. Camilla's voice alternating between hurt and cold. Charlotte apologizing repeatedly, promising to do better, to try harder, to stop making people concerned. When Camilla finally left, Mitchell waited, counted to 30, then knocked gently on the library door. "Your Royal Highness, is everything all right?" Silence. Then Charlotte's voice, thick with tears. "I'm fine. Just finishing my studies." "Would you like me to call Miss Reynolds back?" "No, I'm done for today." Mitchell pushed the door open slightly. Charlotte sat at the study table, books open in front of her, tears running down her face. She wiped them quickly when she saw him. "Your Highness, please don't tell my mother." Charlotte looked at him directly. She has enough to worry about. I don't want to add to it. If someone is making you uncomfortable, no one is. I'm just tired. These formal events are exhausting. She gathered her books. I should go rest before dinner. She walked past him, head down, shoulders slumped, every line of her body radiating defeat. Mitchell let her go, but he immediately went to find Barrett. They needed to talk to someone with actual authority, someone who could intervene. He found Barrett in the guard command center. We need to escalate this. Barrett looked up from his reports. What happened? Mitchell explained the conversation he'd overheard. The gaslighting, Charlotte's tears, the psychological manipulation. That's still not evidence of anything illegal, Barrett said carefully. Camilla never threatened her, never said anything explicitly wrong. She's breaking that child down piece by piece, making her think she's the problem, making her apologize for being afraid. I agree. But what can we prove? What can we report? Barrett stood. We need something concrete, something that forces action. Like what? I don't know. But until we have it, our hands are tied. What they didn't know was that concrete evidence was coming, sooner than either of them expected, and it would force them to make a choice that could end their careers or save a child's life. The charity concert was scheduled for the following week. Charlotte was supposed to perform a piano piece. She'd been practicing daily. Mitchell had heard her playing during his rounds. The melody was beautiful, complex, something that required skill and concentration. 3 days before the concert, Charlotte's practice session ended early. Mitchell was walking past when the music stopped abruptly, discordant notes crashing. Then, silence. He glanced through the music room window. Charlotte sat at the piano, hands in her lap, shoulders shaking. Camilla stood behind her, hand on Charlotte's shoulder, leaning down, speaking directly into her ear. Mitchell couldn't hear the words, but he saw Charlotte's reaction, the way she froze, the way color drained from her face, the way her hands began trembling so hard she had to grip her skirt to hide it. Camilla straightened, patted Charlotte's shoulder, then left through the opposite door. Charlotte remained at the piano, not moving, not playing, just sitting there, staring at the keys. Mitchell entered the music room. Your Highness, Charlotte didn't look up. I can't do it. Can't do what? The concert. I can't perform. I'll mess it up. Everyone will see. I've heard you practice. You play beautifully. Not beautifully enough. Charlotte's voice was flat, defeated. I'm not good enough. I'll never be good enough. These weren't a child's normal insecurities. This was something deeper, something that had been carved into her through repetition. Who told you that? Mitchell asked gently. Charlotte finally looked at him. Her eyes were red, exhausted. No one, and I just know. Your Highness, if someone is saying things that make you feel this way, why do you keep asking that? Charlotte stood abruptly. Why are you always there? Always watching? Always asking if I'm all right? The outburst surprised him. Mitchell stepped back slightly. I'm just concerned. Well, don't be. I don't need your concern. I don't need anyone's concern. I just need... She stopped, swallowed hard. I need everyone to leave me alone. She ran from the room. Mitchell let her go. But something about that outburst felt wrong. Charlotte wasn't angry at him. She was angry at the situation, at being trapped, at having no way out. Or maybe she was pushing him away, protecting him from whatever was happening. Mitchell pulled out his phone, texted Barrett, "We need to talk, now." The response came immediately. Guard quarters, 10 minutes. Mitchell walked quickly. His mind raced through possibilities, none of them good, all of them pointing to the same conclusion. Something was very wrong with Princess Charlotte, and time was running out to figure out what. Barrett was already in the guard quarters when Mitchell arrived. The small room was empty except for them. Barrett closed the door, locked it. "I got security footage from yesterday," Barrett said, without preamble. "The hallway outside the music room. You need to see this." He pulled up a video on his tablet. Timestamp showed the previous afternoon. The camera angle covered the corridor leading to the music room. Charlotte appeared first, walking normally, heading to her scheduled practice session. She entered the music room. 30 minutes later, Camilla appeared. She glanced around the corridor, making sure no one was watching. Then she entered the music room. "Watch what happens next," Barrett said. 20 minutes passed in fast forward. Then the music room door opened. Camilla exited first. She looked calm, composed, walked away without hurrying. 60 seconds later, Charlotte emerged. She leaned against the wall outside the door. Her whole body was shaking. She slid down until she was sitting on the floor. Knees pulled to her chest, head down. She stayed that way for 5 full minutes. Finally, she stood, wiped her face, straightened her clothing, then walked away. Each step deliberate, controlled. Mitchell felt sick watching it. "What happened in that room?" "I don't know, but look at this." Barrett rewound the footage, paused on Camilla's face as she exited. "See that expression? That's satisfaction. Not concern, not worry, satisfaction." "We need to get Charlotte alone. Ask her directly what's happening." "She won't talk. You've tried. She pushes everyone away." Barrett set down the tablet. "But I think I know why." "Why?" "Fear, not just of Camilla. Fear of what happens if she tells. Camilla is the queen, Charlotte's step-grandmother. Who would believe a child over her? And even if they did believe her, what then? Family torn apart, public scandal. Charlotte becomes the girl who destroyed the royal family." Mitchell understood. Charlotte was carrying an impossible burden. She was being hurt, but speaking up meant hurting everyone else. "So what do we do?" Barrett pulled out a folder. Inside were printed logs, dates, times, observations. "I've been documenting everything for the past week. Every interaction, every time Charlotte shows distress, every moment that doesn't fit normal patterns." Mitchell scanned the pages. The pattern was undeniable. Charlotte's fear was consistent, specific, always connected to Camilla. "This still isn't proof," Mitchell said. "It's concerning, but not illegal, not actionable." "I know, but maybe it's enough to convince someone to look deeper." Barrett hesitated. "I'm thinking Princess Anne. The Princess Royal. She's direct, no nonsense, and she actually listens to security concerns. If we bring this to her, we could end our careers, bringing unproven allegations against the Queen to a senior royale. Or we could save a child who has no one else." Barrett met his eyes. "Your call, Mitchell. I'll back whatever you decide. But I can't keep watching this and doing nothing." Mitchell thought about Charlotte's face in the corridor, her trembling hands, her silent plea for help, the tears she tried to hide, the way she apologized for being afraid. "Set up a meeting with Princess Anne," Mitchell said. "Tomorrow, if possible." Barrett nodded. "I'll make the request through proper channels. Say we have security concerns regarding Princess Charlotte that require her attention." "Will she meet with us?" "She meets with security weekly. I'll move it up, make it priority." They spent the next hour reviewing their documentation, making sure everything was accurate, factual, no speculation, just observations and timestamps. Mitchell left the guard quarters as afternoon faded to evening. His shift was over, but he didn't want to leave the palace. Not tonight. Something felt different, urgent. He walked past the family quarters. The corridor was quiet. Most royals were preparing for dinner. He shouldn't be here. This wasn't his assigned area. But he kept walking. He heard voices ahead. One of them was Charlotte's. The other was Camilla's. Mitchell stopped at the corner, stayed out of sight. He shouldn't eavesdrop, but he didn't move. The concert is in 2 days, Camilla was saying. You need to be ready. I am ready. Charlotte's voice was tight, controlled. Are you? Because your practice today was sloppy, unfocused. I'm trying my best. Your best isn't good enough. Your mother played perfectly at your age. She never made mistakes. Never. Embarrassed the family. I'm not my mother. No, you're not. A pause, heavy with meaning. Which is why you need to work harder. Be better. Stop being so weak. I'm not weak. Aren't you? Crying in corridors, running to guards, making people think something is wrong when nothing is wrong. I don't. You do, constantly. And it reflects poorly on all of us. On me, especially. People will think I'm failing you, that I'm not a good grandmother. That's not what I mean to do. Then what do you mean to do, Charlotte? Help me understand, because from where I stand, you're trying to make me look like a villain. Mitchell's hands clenched. The same manipulation, the same gaslighting, making Charlotte responsible for Camilla's reputation. I'll do better, Charlotte whispered. I promise. You always promise, but nothing changes. Camilla's voice dropped lower. Mitchell strained to hear. Perhaps you need to understand consequences, real consequences, for your behavior. Silence. Then Charlotte's voice, barely audible. What kind of consequences? The kind that teach lessons, the kind that make you remember. Another pause. You have a choice, Charlotte. You can continue this attention-seeking behavior and face what comes. Or you can compose yourself, perform beautifully at the concert, and we never speak of this again. I'll compose myself. Good. Because if you don't... Camilla let the threat hang unfinished. Well, we both know what happens when young royals can't handle the pressure. They get sent away, for their own good, to places where they can rest, where family doesn't have to watch them fall apart. Mitchell felt ice in his chest. Was Camilla threatening to have Charlotte sent away? Institutionalized? I won't fall apart, Charlotte said. I'll be perfect, I promise. See that you are. Footsteps approached. Mitchell moved quickly, ducked into an alcove. Camilla walked past without seeing him. She was smiling, that same satisfied expression from the security footage. Mitchell waited. Charlotte appeared moments later. She moved slowly, like someone physically hurt, but there were no visible injuries. The damage was all internal. She saw him standing there, stopped. How long have you been here? She asked. Long enough. Mitchell stepped forward carefully. Your Highness, I heard what she said. The threats. You need to tell someone. It wasn't a threat, just conversation. That was not a conversation. That was psychological manipulation. Threats disguised as concern. Charlotte looked at him with eyes far older than her years. And who would believe me? She's the queen. I'm just a child who gets nervous at formal events. I believe you. You're one guard, one person. Charlotte's voice cracked. It's not enough. It's never enough. Then let's make it enough. Let's go to your father, to Princess Anne, to anyone who can help. And tell them what? That my grandmother is mean to me? That she says things that make me feel bad? Charlotte shook her head. They'll say I'm oversensitive, that I need to toughen up, that this is how royal life works. Not if they see the whole pattern, not if they understand. They won't understand. Tears filled Charlotte's eyes. No one understands. She's too careful, too smart. Everything she says sounds reasonable to everyone else. I'm the only one who hears what's really underneath. Mitchell knelt down, bringing himself to Charlotte's eye level. Then help me understand. Tell me everything, from the beginning, so I can help you. Charlotte looked at him for a long moment. He could see her weighing the decision. Trust versus fear, hope versus experience. It started 3 months ago, she said finally. Her voice was barely a whisper. After my mother got sick, when she had to step back from public duties, Grandmother said she would help, prepare me for more responsibilities. What kind of help? At first it was just comments, small criticisms, how I stood, how I spoke, how I smiled. She said she was helping me improve. Charlotte wiped her eyes. But then it got worse. The criticism became constant. Nothing I did was right. She started making me practice everything over and over. If I made a mistake, she'd make me start again. And again. How long would these sessions last? Hours, sometimes. I'd be so tired I could barely stand. But if I asked to stop, she'd say I was weak, that I'd never survive royal life if I couldn't handle a few extra hours of practice. Mitchell felt anger building, but he kept his voice calm. Did anyone else see this? No. She always made sure we were alone. And afterward, she'd be so nice in public. So caring. If anyone asked if I was all right, she'd say I was just tired, working so hard. Charlotte's hands were shaking again. And they believed her, because why wouldn't they? What about your parents? My mother's been recovering. I didn't want to worry her. And my father, Charlotte trailed off. He's so busy, and he loves Grandmother. He wants us to have a good relationship. If I tell him she's cruel, he won't believe me. He'll think I'm exaggerating, being difficult. You're not being difficult. You're being hurt. But I can't prove it. She never touches me, never physically hurts me. It's just words, just criticism, just making me feel small. Charlotte looked directly at him. How do you prove that someone makes you feel worthless? How do you show what it's like when every day someone tells you you're not good enough? Mitchell didn't have an answer, because Charlotte was right. Emotional manipulation left no visible scars, no evidence. Just a child who was falling apart from the inside out. But before he could respond, his radio crackled. Captain Wells's voice cut through the silence. All units, Princess Charlotte is missing from her quarters. Repeat, Princess Charlotte is unaccounted for. Begin immediate search. Mitchell looked at Charlotte. They're searching for you. I was supposed to be in my room, resting before dinner. Charlotte's eyes widened. Grandmother will be furious. She'll say I'm being difficult again, making problems. No, you're here. You're safe. That's what matters. Mitchell pressed his radio. Captain Wells, this is Mitchell. I have Princess Charlotte. She's with me in the East Wing. She's safe. Static. Then Wells's voice tight with stress. Bring her to the family dining room immediately. The king has been notified. Mitchell stood, offered his hand to Charlotte. She took it. Her hand was ice cold. They walked together toward the dining room. Charlotte's steps were slow, reluctant. He's going to be angry, she whispered. Your father? Yes, and Grandmother will make it worse. She'll say I'm attention-seeking, that I wandered off on purpose. I'll explain what happened. I'll tell them you were talking to me. It won't matter. They arrived at the dining room. The doors were open. Inside, King Charles stood with his phone, pressed to his ear. Camilla sat at the table, hands folded. Her expression was concerned, worried, the perfect image of a grandmother, anxious about her missing grandchild. Charles saw them, ended his call immediately. Charlotte, thank God, where have you been? We're approaching the moment that shocked everyone who witnessed it. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. We share stories like this daily on Crown Watch. Here's what happened when the truth came out. I'm sorry, Father. She was with me, Your Majesty. Mitchell stepped forward. We were talking. I apologize for not notifying security of her location. Charles looked at Mitchell, then at Charlotte. His expression shifted from relief to concern. Charlotte, are you all right? You look pale. I'm fine, just tired. You're always tired lately. Charles moved toward her, placed a hand on her shoulder. Charlotte didn't flinch. She leaned into the touch. Her father's touch was safe. What's going on? Nothing. She's been having difficulty adjusting. Camilla's voice was gentle, sympathetic. The increased responsibilities, the formal events, it's overwhelming for her. Charles nodded. Is that true, Charlotte? Is the pressure too much? Charlotte looked at her father, then at Camilla, then at Mitchell. He could see the decision forming, the moment where she had to choose between silence and truth. Your Majesty, Mitchell said quietly, may I speak with you privately? There are some concerns. Concerns about what? Camilla stood. Her expression was still concerned, still caring, but her eyes were cold. Sergeant, I appreciate your dedication, but Charlotte's well-being is a family matter. With respect, Your Majesty, Princess Charlotte's safety is my concern, and I believe— You believe what, exactly? Camilla's voice remained calm, reasonable. That a child being nervous about public appearances requires security intervention? I believe there are patterns of behavior that warrant attention. Patterns? Camilla smiled. The kind of smile that looked warm, but wasn't. You've been watching my interactions with Charlotte, making notes, creating suspicions where none exist. Charles looked between them, confused. Someone explain what's happening. Mitchell made a split-second decision. He'd gone too far to stop now. Your Majesty, over the past week I've observed Princess Charlotte displaying signs of significant distress, primarily in situations involving Queen Camilla. I believe there may be what? Camilla's voice rose slightly, just enough to sound hurt rather than angry. Are you accusing me of something, Sergeant? I'm expressing concern for Princess Charlotte's emotional well-being. Based on what evidence? A child who gets nervous at formal events? Who feels pressure to perform perfectly? Camilla turned to Charles. This is exactly what I was afraid of. Charlotte's anxiety is being misinterpreted as something sinister, when, in reality, I've been trying to help her cope. Charles looked at Charlotte. Is this true? Are you anxious about the public appearances? Charlotte stood frozen. Mitchell could see her internal struggle. Truth versus consequences. Hope versus fear. Charlotte, Mitchell said gently. Tell him. Tell your father what you told me. Don't pressure her, Camilla said sharply. She's clearly confused, overwhelmed. Putting words in her mouth won't help. I'm not putting words anywhere. I'm asking her to speak for herself. She's a child, a frightened child, and you're making it worse. I'm trying to protect her. From what exactly? From her grandmother trying to prepare her for royal life? Camilla's expression shifted, became harder. Or are you creating a situation where you can play the hero? The guard who rescued the princess from imaginary threats? Mitchell felt the accusation like a physical blow. She was good, making him look obsessed, making his concern seem like ego or attention-seeking. Charles raised his hand. Everyone stop. Charlotte, look at me. Charlotte looked up, tears streaming down her face now, no longer trying to hide them. What's wrong, sweetheart? Charles's voice was gentle. Talk to me. Charlotte opened her mouth, but before she could speak, the dining room doors opened again. Princess Anne strode in. She took in the scene immediately. Her eyes moved from Charlotte's tears to Camilla's defensive posture to Mitchell's rigid stance. I received an urgent message from security, Anne said. Something about his concerns regarding Charlotte. Someone want to explain? Mitchell straightened. This was it. The moment that would either validate everything or end his career. Your Royal Highness, I requested a meeting with you. But given current circumstances, he paused, I have concerns about Princess Charlotte's emotional state and the nature of her interactions with Queen Camilla. Anne's expression didn't change. Go on. Over the past week, I've documented multiple instances where Princess Charlotte displays extreme distress in Queen Camilla's presence. Trembling, crying, panic responses, followed by periods where she's emotionally withdrawn and exhibiting signs of psychological manipulation. "That's absurd," Camilla said, but her voice had lost some of its warmth. "I've been helping Charlotte prepare for increased responsibilities. If she's finding it stressful—" "This isn't stress." Mitchell's voice was firm. "This is fear." Anne walked to Charlotte, knelt down. "Charlotte, I need you to be honest with me. Are you afraid of your grandmother?" The question hung in the air, simple, direct, impossible to deflect. Charlotte looked at her father, at Camilla, at Mitchell, then back to Anne. "Yes," she whispered, "I'm afraid." The word hung in the silence. Yes. Small, terrifying in its honesty. Camilla's expression flickered, just for a moment. The mask slipped. Mitchell saw fury beneath the concerned facade. Then it was gone, replaced by shock. Hurt. The wounded grandmother. "Charlotte, that's—" Camilla's voice broke. "How could you say that?" But Anne held up her hand. "Charles, I need you to take Charlotte to the private sitting room. Now." "Anne, I don't think—" "That wasn't a suggestion." Anne's tone left no room for argument. "Take your daughter somewhere safe. I'll handle this." Charles hesitated. Then he nodded. He took Charlotte's hand. "Come on, sweetheart. Let's go." Charlotte looked back at Mitchell as Charles led her away. In her eyes was a mixture of fear and hope. Fear of what would happen next. Hope that finally someone was listening. When they were gone, Anne turned to Camilla. "You and I need to have a conversation. A very frank one. I don't know what that child has been telling people, but I'm not interested in deflection." Anne's voice was ice. "I'm interested in facts. And right now, the facts include a child who just admitted she's afraid of you, a senior guard who's documented multiple concerning incidents, and my own observations of your behavior over the past months." Camilla's expression hardened. "Your observations? I'm not blind. I've watched how Charlotte responds to you, how she tenses when you enter a room, how her voice changes. I dismissed it initially as adjustment difficulties, but apparently I was wrong. You're making assumptions based on a child's emotional outburst." "Am I?" Anne looked at Mitchell. "Sergeant, you mentioned documentation. I want to see all of it, every observation, every incident, every detail." "Yes, Your Royal Highness." Mitchell pulled out his phone. "I can have it sent to you immediately. Sergeant Barrett has additional footage and logs as well." "Barrett is involved in this?" Camilla's voice rose. "How many people have you convinced to participate in this campaign against me?" "This isn't a campaign," Anne said coldly. "This is security personnel doing their job, protecting a child. By undermining her family, by making her believe she's a victim when she's simply being prepared for responsibilities. If preparation looks like psychological manipulation, then it's not preparation. It's harm." Camilla stood, drew herself up. "I will not stand here and be accused by security guards, and you will stand here and answer questions, or you will leave this palace immediately while an investigation takes place." Anne's expression was granite. "Choose." The room went silent. Mitchell watched Camilla calculate, weigh her options. She was cornered, but she wasn't finished. "There's nothing to investigate," Camilla said finally. Her voice was controlled again, calm. "Charlotte has been struggling with anxiety. I've been trying to help her manage it. Perhaps my methods were too rigorous. If so, I apologize. But my intentions were good." "Your intentions are irrelevant if the outcome is a terrified child." "She's not terrified. She's dramatic. She's afraid." Anne stepped closer. "And you know why? The question is whether you admit it or force us to prove it." Mitchell's phone buzzed. A text from Barrett. Princess Kate has been notified. She's returning from the hospital event immediately. ETA 20 minutes. Mitchell showed the message to Anne. She nodded. Kate is on her way, Anne said. When she arrives, she'll want answers. Real answers. Not deflection or justification. Camilla's expression changed. For the first time, Mitchell saw genuine fear in her eyes. Kate was Charlotte's mother. And from what Mitchell understood, Kate was fiercely protective. I think I should speak with Charles, Camilla said. This is a family matter. This became more than a family matter when Charlotte said she was afraid, when security documented a pattern of concerning behavior, when a child's well-being was placed at risk. Anne pulled out her phone. I'm calling in Dr. Morrison, Royal Family Counselor. He'll need to evaluate Charlotte. That's unnecessary. That's mandatory. And until his evaluation is complete, you will have no unsupervised contact with Charlotte. You can't do that. I can, and I am. Anne looked at Mitchell. Sergeant, I want you and Barrett to compile everything you have. Every observation, every piece of footage, every documented incident. I want it on my desk within the hour. Yes, Your Royal Highness. And I want increased security on Charlotte's quarters. No one enters without my authorization or her parents' authorization. That includes you, Camilla. Camilla's face went white. You're restricting my access to my own step-granddaughter? I'm protecting a child who expressed fear. That's my priority. Mitchell's radio crackled. Captain Wells's voice. Sergeant Mitchell, report to the command center immediately. Acknowledged. Mitchell looked at Anne. Your Royal Highness? Go. Compile your documentation. Wells will want to be briefed. Anne's expression softened slightly. You did the right thing, Sergeant. Not the easy thing, but the right thing. Mitchell nodded. He left the dining room quickly. His heart was racing. The confrontation had happened. The truth was out. But what came next was uncertain. He reached the command center. Barrett was already there with Captain Wells. Wells looked furious. Explain, Wells said, without preamble. Explain why I'm hearing from Princess Anne that you've been conducting an unauthorized investigation into Queen Camilla. Not unauthorized, sir. We documented security concerns regarding Princess Charlotte's well-being. Concerns you brought to me when? I attempted to raise concerns several times, sir. I was told they were normal adjustment issues. Wells's jaw clenched. And so you went around me, directly to Princess Anne. I went through proper channels to request a meeting with Princess Anne regarding security concerns. That meeting was scheduled for tomorrow. Tonight's confrontation happened because circumstances accelerated. Barrett stepped forward. Sir, with respect, we have over 40 documented incidents spanning the past 10 days. Times when Princess Charlotte displayed extreme distress specifically related to Queen Camilla. We have footage. We have witness statements from other guards. We have a clear pattern. Wells was silent for a long moment. Then he sighed. Show me everything. They spent the next hour laying it all out. The footage of Charlotte collapsing in the hallway. The documented conversations. The observations from multiple guards. The timeline showing Charlotte's deteriorating emotional state. Wells watched it all. His expression grew darker with each piece of evidence. Why didn't I see this? He said finally. Because it was subtle, sir, Barrett said. Camilla was careful. Everything she did could be explained away as concern or preparation. It was only when you looked at the pattern that it became clear. A pattern I missed. A pattern designed to be missed, Mitchell said. Hey, she's been doing this long enough to know how to avoid obvious red flags. Wells nodded slowly. The question now is what happens next. Princess Anne has restricted Camilla's access to Charlotte pending an evaluation by Dr. Morrison. That will cause problems, political problems, Public relations problems. Better than the alternative, Barrett said quietly. What happens if Charlotte hurts herself? If the pressure becomes too much? The thought hung heavy in the air. They all understood the statistics. Young people under psychological pressure. The breaking point. Wells picked up his phone. I need to brief the king. He'll want to know everything. He looked at Mitchell and Barrett. You two, stay available. This isn't over. They left the command center. Mitchell felt exhausted. The adrenaline was fading, leaving him shaky and uncertain. Think we just ended our careers? Barrett asked. Maybe, but at least Charlotte is safe. For now. They walked in silence toward the guard quarters. Then Mitchell's phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Sergeant Mitchell? A woman's voice. Clipped. Controlled. This is Princess Kate. I need to speak with you. Immediately. The final moments of this story are unforgettable. Stay with us until the end. Now here's what happened next. Mitchell met Kate in a private conference room in the palace's north wing. She'd arrived directly from the hospital event, still in her formal dress. Her expression was controlled, but her eyes were furious. Tell me everything, she said, the moment Mitchell entered. Don't leave anything out, Mitchell told her. All of it. From the state dinner to tonight's confrontation. Every observation, every documented incident. Kate listened without interrupting, but he watched her hands clench tighter with each detail. When he finished, Kate was silent for a long moment. I should have seen it, she said finally. I've been so focused on recovering, on getting back to duties. I missed what was happening to my daughter. Your Majesty, you couldn't have known. Camilla was careful. She was hurting my child, Kate's voice was steel, right under my nose, and I didn't see it. With respect, ma'am, neither did anyone else. Not at first. It took time to see the pattern. But you saw it. You and Barrett, two guards who have known Charlotte for less than a year, saw what her family missed. Kate looked directly at him. Why? What made you notice? Mitchell chose his words carefully. I've worked protective details for years. You learn to read people, to see past the surface. Charlotte wasn't just nervous or stressed. She was afraid. Once I recognized that, I couldn't ignore it. Even though it could cost you your career. Even though, Kate nodded slowly. Charlotte is with William right now, in our private quarters. She's safe. But she's also devastated. She thinks she's destroyed the family, caused a scandal, hurt everyone. She protected herself. That takes courage. She's 9 years old. She shouldn't need courage to be safe in her own home. Kate's voice cracked slightly. Then she composed herself. I want you to remain on Charlotte's security detail. You and Barrett, I trust you. Clearly more than I should have trusted others. Of course, Your Majesty. And I want you to know what happens next with Camilla. That's not your concern. It's mine. And William's. We'll handle it. Mitchell understood. The family would deal with Camilla privately. No public scandal. No media circus. Just quiet consequences behind closed doors. One more thing, Kate said. Charlotte wants to thank you. In person. Would you come with me? Mitchell followed Kate through the private corridors. They reached the family quarters. William stood outside the sitting room door. He looked exhausted. She's calmer now, William said to Kate, but still shaken. Of course she is. Kate touched his arm. We'll get through this. William looked at Mitchell. Anne briefed me on your documentation, everything you observed. He paused. Thank you for seeing what needed to be seen, for acting when others didn't. I was just doing my job, sir. No, you did more than your job. You protected my daughter when she had no one else to protect her. William's voice was thick with emotion. I won't forget that. Kate opened the sitting room door. Charlotte sat on a sofa, wrapped in a blanket. She looked small, young, but when she saw Mitchell, she sat up straighter. "Hello, Your Highness," Mitchell said gently. "You came." "Your mother asked me to. She said you wanted to thank me." Charlotte stood, walked toward him. Then, in a gesture that broke protocol completely, she hugged him. A quick, tight hug. "You believed me," she whispered, "when no one else did. I believed what I saw, a brave girl who needed help." Charlotte stepped back, wiped her eyes. "Is she gone? Grandmother Camilla?" Kate knelt beside Charlotte. "She's in her private quarters, and she won't be alone. With you again? Not until we sort this out properly." "Will I have to see her?" "Not until you're ready, and not unless you want to." Kate smoothed Charlotte's hair. "You're safe now, sweetheart. That's what matters." Charlotte nodded, but Mitchell could see she didn't quite believe it yet. Safety was a concept. Trust would take time to rebuild. "I have to go back to work," Mitchell said, "but I'll be nearby, if you need anything, anything at all." "Can you be there tomorrow? For the concert?" Mitchell glanced at Kate. She nodded. "I'll be there," Mitchell promised. "I'm still going to mess it up. The piano piece. Maybe, maybe not. But either way, it doesn't matter. You're more than a performance, Charlotte. You're more than perfect appearances and flawless behavior." Charlotte smiled. Small, tentative, but real. Mitchell left the family quarters, walked back through the quiet corridors. His phone buzzed, a text from Captain Wells. "King has been briefed. Investigation is formal. Now, you and Barrett are off regular duty pending review. Report to my office in the morning." Off duty. That could mean suspension, could mean termination, could mean the end of his career. Mitchell didn't care. Charlotte was safe. That was what mattered. He left the palace as dawn was breaking. The city was waking up. Normal people starting normal days. None of them knowing what had happened behind palace walls last night. Mitchell went home, showered, tried to sleep, but his mind wouldn't shut off. He kept seeing Charlotte's face, her fear, her tears, her courage when she finally spoke the truth. His phone rang at 8 in the morning. Barrett. "You see the news?" Barrett asked. "No." "Why?" "Palace just released a statement. Queen Camilla is taking a temporary step back from public duties, citing health concerns. She's going to Balmoral for rest and recuperation." Mitchell understood. The official story. The public wouldn't know the truth. But inside the palace, everyone would understand what really happened. "What about us?" Mitchell asked. "Wells wants to see us at 10, but Anne's office also called. She wants to meet with us first." They met Anne in her private office. She was dressed casually, clearly had been up all night. "Gentlemen," she said, "sit." They sat. "What you did last night was reckless. It violated protocol in multiple ways. It created a situation that could have escalated badly." Anne paused. "It also saved a child's life. Possibly, literally." Mitchell and Barrett exchanged glances. Dr. Morrison evaluated Charlotte this morning. His preliminary assessment shows significant psychological stress, anxiety, depression, early signs of trauma responses. Anne's expression was grim. If this had continued much longer, the outcomes could have been catastrophic. "Will Charlotte be all right?" Mitchell asked. "With time, with therapy, with her parents actively protecting her." Anne leaned forward. "She's asked that you remain on her security. Detail. Both of you. Her parents have agreed. We're not being dismissed? On the contrary, you're being commended, privately. No medals, no public recognition. But your actions will be noted in your service records, and you'll receive new assignments, effective immediately." Barrett spoke carefully. "What about Queen Camilla?" "Queen Camilla is no longer your concern. She's being handled at levels above your clearance." Anne's tone made it clear the conversation was over. "Focus on Charlotte. She needs people she can trust. You've proven you're those people." They left Anne's office. Mitchell felt lighter. The weight of uncertainty lifted. "Think Charlotte will actually do the concert?" Barrett asked. "If she wants to. If she doesn't, that's okay too. Either way, we'll be there. Either way." 2 days later, Mitchell stood in the back of the concert hall. Security detail for Princess Charlotte's performance. The room was filled with dignitaries, donors, society figures, all there to watch royal children perform. Charlotte walked onto the stage. She wore a blue dress. Her hair was perfect, her posture straight. She sat at the piano, placed her hands on the keys. For a moment, she froze. Mitchell saw the fear creeping back, the doubt. Then Charlotte looked into the audience, found her mother. Kate smiled at her, nodded. "You can do this." Charlotte began to play. The melody was beautiful, complex. She made mistakes, hit wrong notes twice. But she kept playing, finished the piece with quiet dignity. The audience applauded. Charlotte stood, curtsied. Then she looked directly at Mitchell, standing in the shadows at the back of the room. She smiled, a real smile this time. Not perfect, not practiced, just genuine. Mitchell smiled back. She'd done it, not perfectly, but honestly, and that was more important than perfection ever could be. 3 weeks later, Mitchell walked his usual route through the palace corridors. But things had changed, subtly, quietly. Queen Camilla remained at Balmoral. The official story said she needed rest. The unofficial truth was known only to those who needed to know it. An investigation had concluded. Consequences had been delivered. Not publicly, not dramatically, but permanently. Charlotte returned to her normal schedule. Piano lessons, school, family time. But now someone was always watching, not with suspicion, with protection. Mitchell saw her occasionally during his rounds. She'd wave, sometimes stop to chat about small things. Her piano teacher said she was improving. Her brothers were annoying, normal child concerns. The fear was fading from her eyes. Slowly, but noticeably, Barrett had been promoted, put in charge of coordinating security for all royal children. His first action was implementing new protocols, regular check-ins, multiple guards cross-referencing observations, a system designed to catch patterns before they became problems. One afternoon, Mitchell encountered Princess Kate in the corridor. She stopped when she saw him. "Charlotte had her therapy session today," Kate said. "Dr. Morrison says she's making progress." "That's good to hear, Your Majesty." She told him something interesting. She said the scariest part wasn't what was happening. It was thinking no one would believe her. Kate's eyes were serious. "You believed her, when it mattered most. Anyone would have done the same." "No, Sergeant, they wouldn't have. Most people look away. Choose comfort over truth. You didn't." Kate paused. "That's the difference between doing a job and protecting someone who needs it." Mitchell had no response to that. Kate nodded and continued down the corridor. He thought about what she'd said, about belief, about seeing what others missed, about choosing action over comfort. True duty wasn't about following orders blindly. It was about knowing when rules mattered less than doing what was right. When protocol mattered less than protecting someone who couldn't protect themselves. Charlotte was safe now. That was what mattered. Not public recognition, not career advancement, just a child who could sleep at night without fear. Sometimes the most important battles were fought in quiet corridors, with observations instead of weapons, with courage to speak instead of silence. And sometimes that was enough. If this story showed you something about royal guards you didn't know, make sure you're subscribed to Crown Watch. We share these untold stories from inside the palace every single day. Drop a comment below. Would you have noticed the signs Mitchell saw? Would you have acted despite the risks? Let us know your thoughts. We'll see you in the next one.